Okay, I represent QTech, which is the Centre for Usable Home Technology. That's at Coventry University, but it's really across the UK. My wife and I opened an old people's home 30 years ago, and there wasn't a single person there who should have been there. Today, it would be called a care hotel. Maybe there is a role for such a thing, but the reality is that society's moved on, and we've moved on, and we've got to do things differently. So, the new Care Act came in, April the 1st. There's also a Welsh Care Act, and that said there should be meaningful outcomes. How do you measure that? Obama says in his reforms, meaningful outcomes. So I reckon we should be looking at improving people's quality of life. Can we do it? Can we measure it? Actually, we can measure it, and everybody would have a different element there. So what we really want to talk about, I think, isn't so much about the quality of life, about those extra things, the values that people have, ambitions, designs, and in fact, it could be a bucket list. And a bucket list means lots of different things to different people, and you can go on all these sorts of websites and they'll tell you the things you have to do before you die. And yeah, lots of them involve travelling, new ambitions. Some of them actually maybe more to do with Homer Simpson than with reality. And some of them are for older people and they're just quite happy to keep breathing. But you know, you can make a joke of these things, but it does tell you that everyone has preferences. And the preferences could be to where they live, how they live, who looks after them, what they actually get out of life. So perhaps the real challenge could be, do you want to go travelling in a motorbike across the country? Do you want to go off in your Harley Davidson wearing your pink knickers, as someone once said? Or is it something as simple as bringing your past back to you? It doesn't matter. The reality is that life throws things at you that stops you having what I think is the big good I for independence. And in the way of that, there's challenges, and I call them the big bad challenges, the big bad eyes. And you can relate to any of these or all of these, because some of you, insensitivity, that's poor eyesight. Yes, people have poor eyesight as they get older. Poor hearing, there's not a man over 50 who can hear his wife nag him. Standard things that come about because of old age. So these are probably 20 or so big bad eyes that are issues that we might have to contend with, right through to being in hospital, because people die in hospital, so don't go there. Impaired cognition, and in fact incomprehension at this whole system. How does it work? How do I get what I need? So I think the assessments have to look differently so that we deliver those meaningful outcomes. Well, where do we go from there? Well, I think there are 4 pillars of support. One of them is what you might expect, formal services. The problem with formal services is they cost a lot of money. The money's declining, so we can't rely on the left. On the right, housing. Yeah, we all have a house, but it might need to be extra care housing, for example. It might be supported housing, it might be sheltered housing. The reality is there will never be enough. We're not building enough houses, full stop. A typical extra care scheme, £5-6 million. So we're not going to get 10 extra care schemes in Runcorn. It's not going to happen, even though we might need them. So the other 2 pillars are what we must rely on. One of them is the community, and that means people, that means you and me. And the other one is technology. And the challenge, therefore, is to bridge that gap. I'll just go back to that, because it took me ages to find a picture of Runcorn Bridge, so I'm going to make sure you see it. So we have to bridge that divide and make the community aware of the technology and at home with the technology. So how do we engage it? Well, people have talked about day centres. Day centres are closing because they can't afford to be run. That's a nightclub. It's only used at night. That's a day club. It's only used during the day. It's about time we started thinking, maybe we could use our nightclubs as day clubs. Businesses knowing their customer. Yeah, we talk about loyalty cards, but what about someone coming in and you know them at the local level? Well, actually, that's possible if you could identify them. And you can identify people by anything. I'm not talking about chipping people, because there are simpler solutions. The signs, that's a talking sign at a hospital. The people who need it are those who can't actually get to that point and work out what they need. But we can have signs that recognise this is Mrs. Jones, she needs to go home, and it can tell her, plot her the way. The technology isn't difficult. The technology is never difficult. The problem is understanding what we need and identifying with people who have special needs. So having a community, not simply dementia aware, but aware of all those other long-term conditions as well. Someone who can't get upstairs, someone who has problems speaking or hearing or seeing. So it's making the whole community trying to support each other. Respite, all those carers, people will be caring more and more for their own families. They need a break. The opportunities need to be there. And ultimately, volunteering. And that's making a participating role for everyone. We all have something to offer. It might be small, we might think it's small, but actually, if you're an older person, you might have the recipe for the best cupcakes out. If you're an older man, you might be better in an allotment than any young gardener. We have something to return. Everyone can do something. The challenge is how you pull it all together. And that's certainly a technological challenge. Therefore, we have the desire, we have the push, we have the pull. So how do we make it appealing? The problem is technology is a word that people are scared of. You mention technology and care together, and people say you're already dehumanizing it. We need people. People need people. So how do we avoid that? Well, stop using these words. Equipment. We have equipment services. That's what we mean by equipment. What's that going to do with care? Appliances, these are things that are in your kitchen, industrial kitchens, machines, big things that can hurt you, that can harm you. No wonder older people are scared of technology. They're used to machines breaking down. They're used to machines killing people because something went wrong. Computers, yeah, big things that are for younger people, not them. People will not necessarily like that, and they certainly won't like the robots, which they see coming ahead and being exported from China and Japan. So, what's good? What's cool? The cool words which will appeal to their grandchildren maybe. Smart, intelligent, television, internet, devices. These are all good words. Radio. Everyone has a radio. Everyone has a TV. We can deal with these. And phones. Yeah, everyone has a phone. Tom asked, who's got a phone? We've all got phones. So these are good words. Gizmos, stuff. You don't need a technology word. This is just part of life. The problem is people don't know what's out there, and there's loads of things out there. They're called assistive devices. There's probably 20,000 different ones out there. So how do you get people to have what they want? Well, here's one answer, and that's a website, a portal developed by a company that's in the audience, actually, on behalf of Liverpool, my Liverpool Dallas project. And what that effectively does is allows you to find, from your condition, from the issues, from the products, find what works for you. And I think that will be central to changing the way we do care. It's a journey. I'm actually embarking on that journey. I'd like to see every old people's home closed. I'll leave the nursing homes open. I'll have extra care schemes, but extra care in the community. Virtual extra care driven by the community, by you and me, all of us working collectively together. So if you'd like to join me in that revolution, please let me know. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, we're a little bit behind, so I'm just going to let Fernand do it.
Yep.
We're going to launch the second round of sessions. So anybody who hasn't had a think about what session they're going to go